Alright, Shalom, Shalom, Shalom. I want to give all praises to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rakah, Kodash. Double honors to the well, I can't do that, I'm not in GMS, but salutations. Well, I'm like-minded. I'm a like-minded brother. But salutations to the Akim out there spreading this truth like wildfire in all truth. Well, salutations to the apostles and elders of GMS who rule well, as well as to the Akim out there spreading this truth like wildfire in all truthfulness and in all sincerity. And shalom to the rest of the hopeful elect out there. I hope this video was edifying to y'all. And I had to do a video. I just had to do a video on this video clip right here by Arrows of Indignation 144. Subscribe to his channel. He's pretty he's basically the news clip plug, you know. It's basically what he is. But for you Akim and the truth. As well as, you know, Aquathium can watch his videos as well, you know. But basically he's like I said, the plug for news clips for brothers in the truth. But anyways, posted a video titled Barack Obama, in his own words, all boys should have what? Obama have lost his damn mind. And basically, Obama wants, when you watch it, Obama wants boys to basically be flaming you know what, you know, be flaming bundles of sticks, you know what that is. You know that can't say it or my video will be flagged. But he wants basically men to be that, you know, to be sodomites, you know. And I'm gonna be feminine, you know, be when the scriptures say that the effeminate, they're not gonna inherit the kingdom of Yahweh Bahasham Yahweh Shai. You know, it's a sin to be effeminate if you're a man. But anyways, yeah, let me get that real quick and I'm gonna play the video clip. But 1 Corinthians 6:9, know ye not that the unrighteous shall not inherit the kingdom of the Most High Power Yahweh? Be not deceived, neither fornicators, nor idolaters, nor adulterers, nor effeminate, nor abusers of themselves with mankind. So sodomites or flaming bundles of sticks, you know, they're not gonna inherit the kingdom of the Most High Power Yahweh. Verse 10, nor thieves, nor covetous, nor drunkards, nor revilers, nor extortioners shall inherit the kingdom of the Most High Power Yahweh. And that drunkards is talking about mainly spiritually drunk, but also, you know, at the same time, you know, that this is on another subject, you know, drinking all the time, like all the time, you know, can be a distraction from you doing the work. But anyways, verse 9 though is what I'm focusing on, you know. And I'm focusing on being effeminate. And he also was talking about, he's talking about boys should have flaming bundles of sticks as mentors.
With sports, and let's try.
Which is completely off. But hold on.
Democrats spent the last 2 decades calling men toxic and shipping their jobs overseas, and now they're asking, where did all the men go? Obama's trying to save the party he destroyed, so he's on a manhunt. But there's one problem. The brothers don't listen to him anymore, so he's trying to transition boys into girls. Barack's got his own rules for men, but these are the rules rules that made men leave the party in the first place. Barry says guys don't always have to be the providers, as long as they talk about their feelings.
A lot of...
That's when I knew I had to do a video on this. That embrace your feminine side shit that Esau be pushing.
Male identity and status.
But Obama, hey, that Hamite hold to the mo, he goes further. That indigenous African on his dad's side, he goes further than that.
Tied up with being a provider, having a job, doing a good job, coming home, and when folks started losing jobs because of deindustrialization and offshoring, you had a bunch of men suddenly feeling lost because their identity had been so wrapped up in that one thing, which was being a provider. And so part of what we have to do is, as men take responsibility for figuring out how to talk about and share feelings.
We wouldn't have to talk about our feelings if Obama didn't send our jobs to China. Do you know how we feel about that, by the way? Angry. That's why we voted Trump. But Barack doesn't just want you on the couch.
Which, two sides of the same coin, but, hey, basically the left wing of the eagle is basically the wing responsible for pushing all these abominations and shit, including being effeminate and being a flaming bundle of sticks.
He's telling guys to put down the baseball and pick up a playbill.
They have to be able to learn how to be more than just the sport that they care about. And while they get great skills in sports and they learn a whole lot of traits, I think we owe it to our boys to be very deliberate about saying enough with sports and let's try some other things.
So sometimes it's just a matter of, saying to our boys, you being interested in art, you being interested in, theater, that's cool.
Get off the field and go to an art gallery. And when you do go, bring a gay friend.
I had a gay professor in college at a time when openly gay folks still weren't out of line, who became one of my favorite professors. You need that. To show empathy and kindness. And
those who know that Obama, he also swings that way. Because, hey, the internet, got the internet, and, hey, shit comes out that the elites of Esau Edom and their puppets don't want us to know, like Michelle Obama actually being Michael,
You need that person in your friend group so that if you then have a boy who's gay or non-binary or what have you, they have somebody that they can go, okay, I'm not alone in this. Right?
You don't have to date your gay friend, but when you do date girls, Obama says you don't always have to pay. Make them pay.
We joke that, talking to Lee and Sasha, sometimes they go out with their friends and, they're in a group and the guy's got crocodile arms, It's like...
Not picking up the check.
Not picking up the check. And it's like, okay, you don't have to pick it up all the time. But if you're never picking it up,
right,
that's a problem.
Following Obama's rules for men isn't easy. That's why he's glad he didn't have a son.
I think we did a pretty good job of raising our girls. But I've said often that I think I would have had more difficulty raising a son.
I agree.
Because I think I might have been more judgmental, harder.
If Obama had a son, he'd probably vote Trump. Because boys rebel against dads like that. If this is how Democrats think they're going to win back men, they're never going to win again. Stop playing sports, talk about your feelings, go to the theater with gays, make women pick up the check. When this guy was president, he golfed, played basketball, smoked cigs, killed bin Laden. Now he goes on his wife's podcast.
when you look into that Bin Laden shit, you know, it didn't really kill him. Well, Bin Laden was already dead. But I'm gonna continue to play this video.
Crosses his legs and says he's glad he didn't have a son. What has Michelle done to him?
Hey, Michelle gave him that bagpipe. Michael gave him that bagpipe. But anyways, yeah, completely off. You know, Barack Obama, in his own words, all boys should have what? You know, Batsy boy friends. You Benjamin, you know what that is. Obama have lost his damn mind. He been lost his mind. But he's a heathen anyways. But yeah, you know. And this is an example of how Babylon, aka America, just corrupts and pollutes the minds of our people and of the nations, man, of the other nations. And part of the reason why there's this backlash against Babylon in Africa and these especially in these Muslim countries in the north and north of Africa, that's close to West Asia, the so-called Middle East region, but also well, for that and their support of Amalek, you know, but also these other African countries, there's backlash against the U.S., you know, because that's basically what that is cultural imperialism. I mean, I'll show y'all when yeah, Slovakia, when yeah, cultural imperialism, and the U.S. practices it. When yeah, cultural imperialism refers to the dominance of one culture over the others, Western culture, which is pro, you know, Batsy boy, you know, often through the spread of one culture over others, often through the spread of cultural products and values from a powerful nation to less powerful ones. This can involve the imposition of language, media, consumer goods, and other cultural elements, potentially leading to the marginalization or even erasure of local cultures. And this is also what Rome did. They imposed that's how they, and even the Greeks, they did that, and even the Greeks during the time of Antiochus doing that through force. But Rome did it in other ways. But even the Greek-speaking Edomites under Antiochus, now they did it by coming down with great wrath. They did it through brute force, basically. But even before that, they was pushing it in other ways, and that's why our people in the land even embraced being Hellenized. And then you had the minority, the remaining ones that had to be forced in. Most were forced in, and basically you had the Maccabees and those that were with them that didn't submit. But anyways, you get what I'm saying, which represents the elect today. But those are the same spirits came back. But anyways, yeah, the U.S. practices, the U.S. aka Babylon, you know, the Great Whore, practices cultural imperialism. You know, that's That's what America does. You know, examples, media. The global dominance of Hollywood films, American television shows, and Western music can be seen as a form of cultural imperialism, influencing cultural norms and tastes worldwide. Language. The widespread use of English as global language can be viewed as a form of linguistic imperialism, potentially marginalizing other languages. Consumerism. The promotion of Western consumer goods and lifestyles can contribute to a homogenization of cultures. Basically the same, we're making them similar. Homogenization. That's what that basically means. With local, in layman's terms, right? With local products and practices being replaced by imported ones. You know? And this is what these devils do, man. In history, examples from the past include the imposition of French language and culture in Europe, the influence of ancient China on its neighbors, and the British influence on India. And today, the U.S. influence on the world, man. Especially in these less powerful countries. And consequences, cultural imperialism can have both positive and negative consequences. You know, of course they're going to say something positive about it, which is increased access to information, exposures to new ideas and potential for economic development. Yeah, because they linked up with a more powerful country, you know, like the U.S., because they're embracing the ways of the U.S., the ways of revived Rome, the ways of the West. Negative, loss of cultural identity, homogenization of cultures, making them homogenization of cultures. Alright, went over. Basically, like, all the differences being done away with, and potential for exploitation. You know, because more dependency on the U.S., you know, for example. But it's definitely, the U.S. definitely, you know, got it in the bag when it comes to that, you know, using cultural imperialism. You know. But you know, basically, and that's spoken of in the scriptures. Also, that America, aka Babylon, would have this. And America scripturally is Babylon, but that's spoken of in the scriptures. But basically, I'm gonna read it. Revelation chapter 18, verse 1. And after these things I saw another angel come down from heaven, having great power, and the earth was lightened with his glory. Verse 2. And he cried mightily with a strong voice, saying, Babylon the Great is fallen, and is become the habitation of devils, and the hold of every foul spirit, and the cage of every unclean and hateful bird. Verse 3. For all nations have drunk of the wine of the wrath of her fornication, and the kings of the earth have committed fornication with her, and the merchants of the earth are waxed rich through the abundance of her delicacies, man. And the Most High Power Yahweh is telling our people to come out of this place. How? Mentally, because you got to come out mentally and spiritually out of this place before we can be delivered physically. Verse 4. And I heard another voice from heaven saying, Come out of her, my people, that ye be not partakers of her sins, and that ye not receive of her plagues. You know. Verse 5. For her sins have reached unto heaven, and the Most High Power Yahweh hath remembered her iniquities. And as a voice as a mouthpiece, a spokesman for Babylon, Obama, you know, it's what he does, you know. As a very important spokesman, a former president, That's what he does. But he speaks for, basically he's one of the mouthpieces of, or spokespeople of this place, of Babylon. You know, so that his influence is used as a way to do cultural imperialism. You know, corrupting or polluting the minds of our people and of the other nations, you know. Because there are still people that look up to Obama as being the first non-so-called white president, you know. Many people still ignorantly believe that Obama's a so-called black man when he's an indigenous African on his dad's side, so he's an indigenous African, meaning, you know, he's a Hamite. Even though you have Jake scattered among indigenous Africans, they themselves would not be indigenous Africans, but they would be Israelites scattered among them. But yeah, you know, there's another reason why Babylon got to go down, you know, and it's gonna soon, because of all the wickedness that Babylon has pushed out. You know, her sins have reached into heaven, and the Most High Power Yahweh has remembered their iniquities. Hey, Babylon has got our people's minds fucked up, and they continue to push this bullshit on our people, man. They continue to do it. These devils can, through their mouthpieces, through their puppets, continue to push wickedness and abominations on our people, man, as well as on other nations, but we concerned about our people, you know. And being a Bati boy or sodomite, you know, abusing yourself with mankind is off, and basically also pushing boys and men to be more feminine, and it's all too against the scriptures. And you won't, as I showed earlier, you're not going to inherit the kingdom of Yahweh Bahasham Yahweh. I mean, you're going to be destroyed on this side if you're feminine, you know. And if and advising boys and men to have friends that are Bati boys, that's bad advice, you know. It's very bad advice, because they're gonna be a bad influence on them. It may influence them to be Bati boys, you know. Oh yeah, just another reason why this place gotta go, because of all the abominations and wickedness that this place pushes on our people, man, throughout the world, you know. And Jake is scattered throughout the world, so that's also why they push it on the other nations. But Esau, at the end of the day, Esau wants everybody to think the way he wants them to think, you know. And that's the reason why, you know. And how is Esau? Hebrews 12:16. Lest there be any fornicator or profane person as Esau, who for one morsel of meat sold his birthright. And Esau is a fornicator, which fornication, the real definition of it, is any unclean sex act. Any sex act that is against the scriptures is fornication. It's not get down with your chick before putting a ring on it. That's something that Esau actually came up with. That's something that, that's some Christianity shit, you know. And that's why it's the English definition and not the biblical definition. But the real definition is any unclean sex act when you look into the Greek. But with that, we're just pointing negative onto that. That word for it. But something like that. But with that, I hope this video was edifying. I want to give all praises to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rakah, Kodash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone who rule well, and peace and salutations to the Salakia. Salutations to the salutations to the apostles and elders of GMS who rule well, as well as to the Hakim out there spreading this truth like wildfire in all truthfulness and in all sincerity, and shalom to the rest of the hopeful elect out there. Shalom, stay strong. Wa Ababa Ball, that's a Babylon. Abala, which is this place. Bala Adamwamium, that to these other nations. Wa Abad La Arabim Nawa. That's our enemy. Shalom, stay strong about Wa Babal. We almost out of here. Shalom. Stay strong to the end, and Yashar Allah forever. Shalom.